The Revolution Podcast, episode 23. The song remains the same.
Hi, you're listening to Revolution Podcast. This is Maria Howell as Grace on Revolution.
Golden Spiral Media presents The Revolution Podcast. Instantly watch unlimited TV episodes and movies over the internet right on your TV, computer, and various mobile devices. Watch as much as you want, as often as you want, for only $7.99 a month. Visit goldenspiralmedia.com/Netflix and start your free trial today. Welcome back to the Revolution Podcast, everybody. I'm Daryl.
And I'm Jeremy.
How you doing?
Well, my lungs have been filling up with some nanites.
Oh.
And I'm really starting to come down with
Are they just draining the energy out of you?
It seems like it. I'm just so tired right now.
Well, you know, some people are just pansies, Jeremy, and I think this might be the appropriate time to let you know that you are one of those people.
Takes one to know one. Huh?
that might be true. We're not going to comment on that right now.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, thanks for coming over and joining me for the podcast tonight.
Yeah.
Thanks to those who are in the live show joining us tonight. Go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
I was just going to say even with threat of thunderstorms, but it doesn't look like anything's going to happen.
Man, the weather in Oklahoma this week has been wacky.
Yeah.
And not just Oklahoma, all across the Plains nations. You see what I did there?
Yeah, at least it's not Texas. Stupid
Yes.
Texas. Sorry.
We'll get to Texas later in the quote of the week segment. That's right.
Everybody
that is
vote
up for
number
quote
one.
of the week. And to those of you listening on the podcast later, I am glad that you've joined us as well. Hopefully we'll be bringing some awesomeness to your earbuds over the next hour or so as we talk about the Revolution episode that aired on April 8th, 2013, as I mentioned in the intro, entitled "The Song Remains the Same." This one was written by Monica Owusu-Breen and Matt Pitts, and directed by John F. Showalter, which we've seen them numerous times already.
Yep.
With other episodes. So let's get into some news and info. Boom. You know, I was hoping today that we would have renewal announcement. But as of right now, 7:12 p.m. Central. Are we in standard time or daylight time right now?
Well, gee,
I don't
Central
know.
Time.
Central time.
In the spring.
There is no official announcement that I've seen. I just checked TV by the numbers, which is kind of my go-to place for stuff like that. Either that or TV Line. But I think it is imminent. I do. I think it's any day now. I think by this time next week, we will have renewal for a full season 2.
And then we can move on from Monroe with his dead body buried beside Danny.
Don't get ahead of yourself, because I think that might come up in our episode discussion. We don't have a whole lot of new news for you this week. We have the same episode titles that we had for you last week. They haven't announced any new episode titles as far as I can tell, and I've looked in the places that I know to look.
Mm-hmm.
But we do know that next week, April the 15th, is the night the lights went out in Georgia. And if you saw the preview, we're definitely going down to the Georgia Republic, which is what we expected the whole time, right?
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
So, and then the next episode is Home, airing on April 22nd.
That's right. And that's all we have. We don't have anything other than we know the season finale, as we've been telling you week after week now, is going to be airing on May the 27th. We're getting a straight block of episodes, all Revolution, all the way through until I might have said March, May the 27th, just to be clear, is when the season 1 finale. This is still season 1 that we are officially involved with right now. There's been some confusion. Is this season 1 or season 2? You know, when you look at it like The Voice, which left when Revolution did and came back when Revolution did, it is a new season of The Voice, but it is not a new season of Revolution. It's kind of season 1B. Right.
Why not 1.2?
1.2?
Why do we have to be lousy Galaxy A?
Are you having problems with your headphone wire over there?
I can't do it right,
Yeah. We should just get some like wireless Bluetooth headphones or something.
If a certain co-host would like to front that, sure.
Hey, sure. If we'll get a certain donation in to cover that cost, we'll do that.
Hey, guys, donate us enough for a couple of Bluetooth headsets.
That's funny. So I mentioned last week, I forgot to look up the footnotes for this week. Did you happen to do that?
I did.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, before I get into what I mentioned last week, Tell us about the footnotes.
It's Aaron whining about nanites.
Oh, really?
Yeah, pretty much. He's like, I spent all this time trying to find out what it was. And then Rachel just kind of went, oh, no, it's just a little robot hovering around your body. And there's...
So he's not satisfied with that?
Yeah. Well, I think he's happy with it.
Okay.
In a relieved sort of happy way. It's something that he might be able to change. I think it's something that he also knows that I think he mentioned something like it's not like karma coming back to destroy the earth. It's something they did to themselves, even though they may have deserved it, et cetera, et cetera. So he's just kind of, it's the word postulating nanites.
Okay.
So.
Well, that's interesting. And I asked you if he was okay with that. Well, that is our Twitter poll question of the week that we pose to all of the Twitter followers over on Twitter that we did earlier this afternoon. That's right. That's right. You see what I did there?
Yeah.
So that was our Twitter poll question of the week, the Rev Twit question. That'll be part of our listen to me. That'll be part of our feedback podcast that we release later in the week. That gets released late Thursday night. You can listen to it Friday morning. So look for that to hear what other people thought about that question. Was the answer that we got okay? Were you satisfied with that answer? So anyway, look for that.
So you're gonna make me wait until the next episode to talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's typically what we do. We reserve our comments for that as well.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
And then the final thing we'll mention in our news and info segment, I mentioned last week in episode, what would that have been, 21, I suppose, that there was going to be a big announcement in this week's podcast. And so that will happen at the end of the podcast. I don't want to take any time away from the podcast to get into the meat of Revolution, but look for that announcement at the end of tonight's podcast or this current episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right.
All right. You ready for an episode recap?
I am.
The episode begins with Tom being called in to see Monroe and Randall. Randall points out all of Tom's failures, and they give him a mission that will be his last if he is not successful. He must go to a cement factory and pick up a special package. At their new base, Miles is training up a new army of soldiers to take on Monroe. They see Tom and his convoy approaching the area and set up an explosion and capture Tom. Rachel reveals to Aaron that tiny nanobots caused the blackout. Each one, the size of a virus, has only 2 instructions: absorb power and replicate. For some reason, they replicated much faster than designed and absorbed the whole world's power. Tom is taken back to the base, and Miles prepares to torture him and get all of the info about his current mission and his knowledge of Monroe's operation. A new group of rebels arrives, and Jason is among them. He knows they have his dad captured and wants to talk to Tom, but Miles doesn't trust Jason and refuses to let him near Tom. Rachel tries to get to Tom and kill him, but Charlie stops her. Rachel goes back outside to cry, and Jason sneaks in to see Tom. Tom tells him that Julie will be killed if Tom doesn't return, so Jason frees him. Tom tells him about the cement factory, and Jason reveals that it was all a setup. Jason was just trying to get info out of Tom. They take Tom and handcuff him to a chair and head out to the factory. They arrive at daybreak, and the place is heavily guarded. Randall is there, having given up on Tom being successful. The rebels attack the militia, and Randall escapes with a large case during the chaos. The rebels look around the factory and realize that Randall has just left with a nuclear bomb. Back at the rebel base, Tom manages to get a rusty nail and undo his bindings. He grabs a large knife, kills Nicholas and the guard, and escapes back to Philadelphia. He frantically runs into his house and starts packing a bag. He realizes that Monroe and Randall will kill him for failing the mission. He and Julie are now fugitives. Rachel now realizes that she must go to the tower and try and stop Monroe. Miles tries to talk her out of it, but she is determined to go. Aaron joins her for the journey across the Plains Nations. As they leave, Rachel tells Charlie goodbye and says that she's not a little girl anymore and there's no sense in lying. They will likely never see each other again. All right, so that is the episode recap. Jeremy, what was your rating for this episode?
Well, I gave it 800 quadrillion nanobots out of 1 quintillion. I think.
You need to round down to the lowest common denominator.
Yeah, I think that's something like 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
So.
Okay. I gave it 9.5. I love the episode. 9.5 boy band archers.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into our episode discussion. So let's kick off the discussion this week with the discussion of the episode title, The Song Remains the Same. Any ideas on what you think it might mean?
Well, I had something going, but I just logged into the chat room on my phone, so I'm kind of stoked. So how about you lead that up?
Okay. Well, it's obviously the title of a Led Zeppelin song, and we know that Eric Kripke loves him some Led Zeppelin. And so I think you could just look at it from that point and just say, okay, he found a way to work another Led Zeppelin song. He also named an episode of Supernatural. The song remains the same.
All right. I did not know that.
Yeah. But, and I'll read all the lyrics to the song. It's very, very short. Not a whole lot of lyrics to this song, but it says, I had a dream, crazy dream, anything I wanted to know, any place I needed to go. Hear my song. People, won't you listen now? Sing along. You don't know what you're missing now. Any little song that you know. Everything that's small has to grow. I thought that was an interesting line. And it all has to grow. California sunlight, sweet Calcutta rain, Honolulu star bright, the song remains the same. Sing out, hair, hair, dance the hoochie coo. City lights are oh so bright as we go sliding, sliding, sliding through. And that's it. That's the entire lyrics of the song. So I thought the city lights are so bright was interesting, but I really thought the line there that everything that's small has to grow and it has to grow. Given, the nanites that we got revealed to us in this episode. So I think that's also something you could look at it and say, okay, there's a tie-in there. I mean, Kripke's going to take anything. Like, let's say that was a favorite line of his from that song, then I could totally see him going, okay, boom, episode title right there. You know? And then the third thing I'll say is that, the song remains the same kind of means it's the same thing over and over again. The song doesn't change.
Right.
Leopard doesn't change his spots. Neville is still a weak coward. Rachel, given the opportunity to spend time with her daughter, left her behind again.
Right.
I don't know if we want to talk about that now. I think we could. It was at the very end of the episode, so I don't know if we want to do that yet. But those were two things that when I'm thinking about the same old story, people don't change. Those were two things that immediately came to my mind. The song remains the same. So those are kind of my thoughts on the episode title.
Well, Rachel staying behind, I think, is the first thing that comes to my mind as well. And in the lyrics about small things growing, I think could maybe be Charlie and her changing.
I like that.
Her maturing, because I'm kind of enjoying the new Charlie/Miles version of Charlie. So
Charles?
Yeah, Charles. Thank you. That makes some sense.
Oh, boy.
So,
yeah. Okay, go for that.
Or Childs. So
Childs. Yeah.
Anywho, she's a little bit tougher, so we kind of see her growing out of her shell.
How about Miley?
No.
Miley.
It kind of works, though.
No. That just conjures up other things.
Yeah, one other particular thing, huh?
Yeah, really. You're right.
Tumbling down.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning, I guess, with the big opening scene between Randall and Tom. And one of the best quotes, it is up for quote of the week, and Randall basically calls him on all the things that he's done wrong since the show started. And it's like, yes, somebody did notice all this stuff.
Yeah.
What'd you think of that scene?
Well, I thought it was great. I mean, Tom definitely seems to kind of be cowering. It kind of brings us back to what I got trolled on earlier this evening by NBC is they have the prequel on our website. See how it all started. Well, the prequel is actually Enemies of the State. So the little
the Tom backstory,
Tom's
the
backstory,
webisodes.
right? And it kind of takes us back to that where he's weak and small essentially compared to Monroe, and so I think we get a lot of that tension built up and a lot of that same kind of insight into Tom's life. So,
Yeah. It was a good scene. I mean, both of them are kind of sizing each other up and wanting to stand their ground and prove that they. I mean, I think they're. I hate to say that Randall's kind of fighting for Monroe's attention. I know Tom is. Tom certainly wants to be his number one guy, right?
yeah.
I think Randall wants to be the number one guy, not Monroe's number one
Well,
guy.
I still think Tom wants to be the number one guy.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not Tom as much as Julia. But
Yeah.
all of her dreams have been shattered.
Well, that's an interesting thing I think we'll get to.
Yeah.
But it was a good scene. I thought it was a great way to start the episode. And Tom is sent off to go do this mission. And if he doesn't do it, it certainly does. I think they're very strongly implied that we're going to kill you if you don't come through for this. Goes home, tells Julie, doesn't tell her anything. You know, he has to be secretive about it. But we learn that she does know that Jason is dead, but not dead.
Right.
I was surprised by that. I mean,
I was surprised that Tom had the backbone to tell her.
Yeah.
It was good to see Julia again. I'll get that out of the way. But I say Julie.
Yeah. You're doing what I was doing a few episodes ago.
I am. So I don't think I was really super shocked that she would be in on it, though. I mean, after it kind of settled, I was like, well, she is kind of conniving. She is very,
Sure.
I think, maybe the pants in that relationship anyway. So why not tell her?
Yeah.
I mean, if what we see from Tom is correct with Randall and with Monroe, I mean, I think we see the same thing with Julie, even though Julie seems to be loyal to him.
To Tom or to Monroe?
Yeah, to Tom.
Okay.
Yeah. And she seems to love him from what I pick up. I think she's still she's more that leader and he's more of the follower type.
I agree. Which is why I was surprised at the end of the episode, the way that scene between them took place.
Yeah.
And how she responded and stuff. But I don't want to get too far ahead, but that's another cool scene that we'll talk about.
Right.
So we go from there to Miles building an army, but it looks like Charlie is about to get killed.
Mm-hmm.
Were you falling for it, or did you think that there was something else going on?
No. Wait, the sword fight at the beginning?
Yeah.
No,
Charlie
I
gets
knew
the
she was
blade
being
to her.
trained.
I did too. I was just one of those things like, nah, it's not happening for real.
Like, they go to it, and I'm like, they've had this intro before, and this is going through my mind.
Yeah.
She's not going to be doing this again at the beginning of an episode. This is a training exercise.
What surprised me is that, when we last saw our band of heroes, they had just recruited the one guy to be a part. And I know that there are other rebels and stuff like that, but I didn't see them already finding this place to where they could have a training grounds going on. And Miles was already at work, indoctrinating them with his fighting styles. But I loved it. I'm so glad they showed us that.
Yeah.
Because now when there's a big epic battle that's, imminent at this point, and the rebels kick some butt, we have
some understanding.
Right.
Right. And now when Charlie misses Randall when she's spraying and praying, we can really nail her on that because she's actually had training. It's official.
That's right.
So
that's right. Too bad Jason wasn't there for some of that training, although it was sword training, not bow training.
Yeah, he could have used a little brusher, refresher course with that bow.
And that's when we get the explanation. So while they're training, we get the explanation from Rachel about the power outage. And I know we already talked about this, that we're going to kind of reserve a lot of our comments for the feedback segment during the that's what we called it in the Fringe podcast, the Rev Twit segment. But let me ask you this anyway. Were you happy that we finally got the answer? Were you surprised that they came up with the answer? Did you expect more of an answer? How's that?
Did I expect more of an answer? I think this answer definitely needs to be fleshed out.
Okay, I'll agree with that.
But I was glad to have an answer. I think this answer is plausible.
Okay.
And something I mentioned earlier today, and I'll mention again, I think this answer can really lead to a time travel.
Okay, how does
kinda
this answer
to that.
lend itself
Well,
to
just-
time travel?
You have the energy kind of harnessed already, so I mean, if you needed some energy to be pulled, you have nanobots that could fuel it. I mean, that's kind of one thing.
Okay.
Instead of having to get up to 88 miles an hour and the steps to get a lightning bolt to strike your car, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
So
Well, I know that I'm not going to be able to talk you off that cliff. So, you can continue to edge up closer to it if you want to. That's fine. I'll let you.
I'm not going to dignify that with a response.
All right.
So,
I was pretty happy with the response. We'll get into that later, but I wasn't surprised to get an answer. I think they basically told us last week. I mean, they couldn't have come back this week with what they hinted at the very end of last week's episode and not come back with something this week. They couldn't have gotten away with it. I mean, sure, they could have, right? I mean, who's going to stop them? But if they had any respect for the fans, they needed to come this week with an answer.
Yeah.
And they did, and I appreciate that.
They came with it, and they came out swinging, even though it might have ended up being a bunt. But they got us on first.
That's right. That's a good way of putting it.
So I say a bunt probably wouldn't get you on first. It's more of a sacrifice play, but
well, a bunt can get you on first, but somebody's got to botch the play.
Right. So the pitcher.
We're on first base. We got a
missed the ball,
single.
yeah.
How's that?
That's,
Okay.
that's good.
Yeah. Okay. So now's the time of the podcast where I want to sing some Lionel Richie for you.
Oh,
Which
boy.
song would you like? I'm going to take requests. We could do Dancing on the Ceiling. We could do All Night Long.
I need to hear some dancing.
We could do
on the
Hello.
ceiling.
We could do We Are the World. Did you know that Lionel Richie co-wrote We Are the World with Michael Jackson?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Okay, maybe I won't. Maybe I won't sing it right now. But it's been in my head all day. I've been singing, all night long, all day, all day. I've been singing it all day. It's not good. I don't sing it good. I just sing it, So there you go. So just be prepared. I liked the Lionel Richie. I thought it was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
I would have rather seen some Hall & Oates. If you were to pick a band from the 80s,
I would have gone Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses, I can't argue with that.
Or Queen. So.
Appetite for Destruction is in my top 10 albums of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I could probably almost sing every lyric from that entire album.
Nice.
Unfortunately, on some of them. So yeah, that's cool. Welcome to the Jungle would have been great.
Yeah.
So,
there'd have been good, would have been a lot of good songs, but I like Lionel Richie. I think it kind of gives us some insight into Tom.
Well, and added some humor to the song or to that scene for sure.
Yeah. So, I thought it was interesting that the driver really didn't care for it.
Yeah. Well, how old would the driver have been when the blackout occurred? He looked like he was like 30-ish.
That's not my point.
Okay. Sorry.
He's not heard music in 15 years. I'd be like jamming out. I don't care if it's like gospel. I mean, you're hearing music on a stereo system for the first time in forever.
Yeah.
So I think that Lionel Richie isn't my first pick personally. I would have been like, hey, this is cool.
Yeah.
I'm driving down the street about to get blown up, and I'm enjoying my life for the first time in quite some time.
Yeah, it was definitely cool. It felt a little bit like Iron Man, the first Iron Man scene, right?
Yeah, but they had some AC/DC going there.
Yeah.
That would have been good.
Sure, it would have been.
So.
That would have been great. Yeah. I mean, Led Zeppelin would have been cool right there. But I like Lionel. I like Lionel Richie. He's a really talented guy, and I was happy with it. It certainly added some humor to the scene for sure. Yeah.
So, I mean,
and then after the wreck, Tom gets out and he's dazed, and they had that steady cam or whatever. It wasn't steady cam where they mount a camera to you and as you turn, kind of.
Right. Okay.
I loved that. That was I just loved what they did there with the camera work.
Yeah, it was a good angle. It showed us, I don't know, his shell shockedness.
Yeah,
it's not really a good word, but
it's okay. We can roll with
the fact that he got out of a vehicle that just got hit by. I'm assuming it's some form of IED.
Yeah.
Did we ever get an answer on exactly what they hit?
I think you're exactly right.
You know what would be great if they made
isn't everything they make nowadays an IED? Do they have?
Well,
I guess.
But it's electronic.
Explosive.
Right. But no.
They would have
IED. They send like a phone signal to it, and it detonates.
I didn't think it had to be exclusive that way. Yeah, they would have had to hit a mine or something.
Right.
Yeah.
But I just thought of a brilliant security plan. All they have to do is get a pendant, build a ton of IEDs that when they get power, detonate. So anybody coming over them with a pendant, boom, toast.
That's a great idea, Jeremy.
I'm going to submit that and say, hey, you got to kill all the guys with pendants because I just set up traps. Just saying.
That's a really good idea, Jeremy.
Anywho.
Gold star for you. So then the rebels and Charlie and Miles, kind of come around him. It reminded me of when the others kind of first gather around Mr. Echo and who else was Jen and Sawyer? I guess it was there on Lost back in season 2, or season 1. Gosh, what season was that? I guess season 2. But anyway, that's kind of what it reminded me of. But all of that we've just talked about before the opening credits or before the opening intro sequence. That was a bunch, man. It was like action-packed, adrenaline-filled, humor. Just
that was the
good
opening
stand-up.
sequence?
That was all that happened before we got the Revolution pop.
I did not even realize that. That's crazy.
That's crazy. That's part of why I gave this episode such a high rating. There was so much in there. It flowed so well. It wasn't overwhelming. It just was great. There's a lot to love in this episode.
All right.
Yeah. So where do you want to go from there, Jeremy? I kind of took that first segment because I wanted to kind of bring all that to that major point right there. But what do you want to cover next?
Well, I mean, we can go into one of the bigger holes. I say a hole. I think it's a hole. I don't think you think it's a hole. But how did Tom know about Danny after they captured him in his
know that he had died?
Yeah.
Well, we got the answer to that.
Did we?
Jason said that word was traveling fast and far and wide.
Right.
Danny the hero who took one for the team, and now people are joining in the rebels by mass numbers. I mean, he's a legend already.
How long has it been?
I don't know.
I
would say a week or two, maybe.
He's a hero and an inspiration, but is the word really going to get inside of the militia? I mean, maybe it would.
I think so. I think the militia has spies all around.
That's a fair point. I hadn't really thought of that. I don't know. When I saw that at first, I'm like, Tom is questioning Miles about Danny. It's like, that's interesting.
No, I'm with you. When they first said it, I was like, how does he know already?
Yeah.
But then when we got the line from Jason later, it was enough for me to go, okay, I can live with that.
Yeah.
That's plausible enough for me to go forward with that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, one of the things though, I just mentioned, Tom asks Miles. Tom is the one that's strapped to a chair being beat up, and yet he seems to be the one questioning Miles.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of a neat dynamic, essentially. So
yeah,
you see Miles kind of getting his chops licked a little bit, even though he's the one physically damaging Tom. So
well, and Tom is, he's strapped or handcuffed to a chair, ankles and arms. He's got no defense. And he's taunting Miles, asking him how it felt to bury Danny and stuff like that. I mean, it was pretty gutsy for him to pretty arrogant for him to act that way.
I wonder if he kind of wanted to die. I don't know.
I think he definitely thought he was going to. He kept talking about the priest and last rites, and I know that he used that as a diversion later on in the episode, but I don't think it was solely that. I think he really thought that he was going to die, and he needs to repent before that day happens.
Yeah.
So based on that, do you think that he will have a change of heart and join the rebels at some point?
Well, I know I've hypothesized that he would turn, but man, Tom he's looking weak, he's looking scared, and he's looking dark. So an eventual turn by him could be unlikely, but I think we have hope with Jason joining the rebels.
Right.
They're going to need a home. But at the same time, I don't think that the rebels will accept him back. At least in the sense that these rebels won't. He might join a different group, Plains Nation, Georgia, something like that. But
yeah.
I don't see him joining the people he just killed when he was escaping. And
no chance.
We're not there yet, but I don't know. So when it comes to him and his wife, I think they're going to have to do something, obviously, even if that includes making a play to take out Monroe. And it might fail miserably, and we might lose both of them. But right now, it's kind of up in the air for me.
Yeah. Well, good comments, Jeremy. I think that he can't go to the rebels, at least not yet. I think you're spot on there. I think his only out is to go to another nation. I think you're spot on there. I think what might drive him to join the rebels, because you remember as he was packing that suitcase at the end of the episode, he was basically still cursing the rebels, you know?
Yeah.
He doesn't like them at all. It's not
Mhm.
that this is just he thinks it's safer with the militia. I think that he has no desire and he has a lot of disdain for the rebels.
Yeah.
But what I see is, as much as we think that Julie is the one turning the head of Tom, and I still stand by that, and I think she's smarter than him. What the fact is, it looks like to be the fact, they are about to leave the comforts of Philadelphia and be fugitives wanted by both sides. They will have very little friends. She is very ill-equipped for that environment, and he can protect her, but he can only do so much. She's going to have to give up her nice dresses and her tea parties, and it will not be long before she is dead. She will die at the hands of the militia, and that will be what starts to change his perspective. I won't say his heart, but his perspective, and he will eventually aid the rebels. I don't know if he'll become a rebel or not, but he will aid them because he'll be driven by hatred of what they do to kill Julie. That's my theory I'm throwing out there.
I think that's a good theory. You're going to have to stick to that. One of his family members dying, I think, is definitely something I considered, one or both. I don't know how long Pretty Boy is going to last, but that would be an interesting way to have him change. So I like where you're going there.
Yeah.
For sure.
You mean when you say Pretty Boy, you mean boy band Jason?
Yeah, boy band. That's what I was looking for. Sorry.
Just making sure I was on the same page with you.
Yeah, they're all the same.
Okay, so trying to think of where we're at here. So I guess they get Tom's pendant. Now let's talk about that for just a minute. Tom had a pendant. It had to have been the one Randall gave him, right? Because the previous one they had was in the helicopter,
right,
which got destroyed last week.
Mm-hmm.
So is Randall now without a pendant, or did he come with like a suitcase full of them and he just brings the next one out?
I was assuming he had a pendant because he drove a car to the cement.
He would have had to. I think, we don't know how many Randall has. We know that unless he made more, there were originally 12. As far as we know, there were only 12. We're down to 9. 3 have been destroyed at the hands of Rachel. Right. I almost said Juliet. Wrong show. So, yeah.
Nice.
Okay. He had to have had another pendant somewhere.
Right.
Okay, good. I'm glad you brought up that point. Then we have the scene. Gosh, where do we want to go next? Do we want to talk about the scene with Rachel and Charlie, where Rachel wants to kill Neville?
Yeah.
Or do you want to talk about the scene between Tom and Jason?
I think we can start there and go sequentially because that's how the show went. So let's start with Rachel.
All right, take it away.
Rachel and Charlie, I liked that Charlie stood up to her mom. I liked that she grew into Miles a bit there. Maybe a bit of her father in her.
Oh, man.
I guess I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, that's a good idea. I'll walk with it until they take it out. But
yeah.
Not that I say I'm agreeing with it, but she definitely is a little bit more Miles as she's turning into Miley. Childs.
Miley, yeah.
So we
need to make a decision. Is it going to be Miley or Charles?
We can go with Charles.
I'm going to go Miley. As much as I hate it, I think that's better.
All right, then that works.
You can call her whatever. I guess anyway. Okay.
No, so and I like that she essentially talked her mom down a bit on that. So made her point. And
they both had good points, right? I mean,
yeah, both of them definitely had good points. But I think what they needed was 5 or 6 people pointed with guns at the guy. You know, let's not take any chances. But at the same time, we need to interrogate this guy.
Yeah.
So, you guard him for sure, and we'll get to that in a bit. So,
yeah.
What was your take on that?
Well, like you said, I think both of them had valid points. You kill the guy, he's no longer a threat, but you keep him alive as long as you can keep him secure, which was clearly the biggest risk. Then you can continue to get information. My question is, Miles seems to know everything about the militia. Now, it is completely logical that things would have changed and there's still information that he needs to know. But when it's been convenient, he seems to have known all he needs to know to infiltrate Monroe, right?
Yeah.
So now that they're like, oh, we can get this information out of him. Yeah, that's a valid point, but it just seemed, again, convenient for the plot to kind of work that into the reason for not killing him.
Right.
Although as a viewer, I'm glad that he was not killed because I love Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah.
And I want him on the show as long as possible.
I agree. I like him a lot. So.
Yeah. So then that gets us right into Jason. Did you see the double cross coming? Did it catch you off guard?
About halfway through the conversation, I caught it.
Yeah.
At first, I was like, oh, great. Here we go. Little pansy. Boy band Jason.
Yeah. I guess we did have the boy band line before that. I guess quite a bit before that. I did not see it coming. And which was great because we went right from the scene where Rachel's like, if we don't kill him now, it's going to come back to bite us in the butt. And then the next scene is him escaping, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Really? Is this the way we're going to play it again this week? Where it's like, this is the warning, the very next scene that plays out, you know? Now, he did escape at the end of the episode, but I was okay with it because it didn't work out where it was like, boom, boom. And they kind of did a little bit of misdirection on there. So I liked it.
Is good.
Yeah. I didn't see it coming, though, until it happened. And I was like, yes, Jason, way to go.
The trick is you really want to be fooled.
Sure.
That's the prestige.
Maybe so.
Or something like that.
Although I didn't want him to escape, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So it was a good scene. Jason actually, I guess, kind of impressed me there. He one-upped the boy band look, and he's laughing. So it was a little bit smart on his part. He talked to the guys, and I was glad that we see that it kind of sees that he actually communicated with people. He told them, hey, I'm going to go talk to my dad. They let him. He talked to his dad, and boom, we got a good confession. We knew where he was going, and we got something out of him. Unlike most often, and like I mentioned last week, chick flicks, where if they would just communicate, it would solve every problem in the entire movie. So communication, I like it.
So, is Jason to be trusted now? Has he earned his trust within the ranks of the rebels?
Absolutely not.
Can I go ahead and ask you why, or would you rather me wait?
Wait until when? What are you thinking of?
When I'm thinking your counterpoint to my question would come up.
You can wait if you want.
Okay. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I'm having a hard time figuring it out. Oh, yeah. Definitely not because of the counterpoint.
Okay.
So,
all right. So we'll wait on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of see it both ways. For the sake of a good argument, which I always enjoy when we're doing podcasts, I will take the opposite of that and say yes, Jason can be trusted.
You don't really believe that.
I don't. No, I don't.
So why do you think he can be trusted?
I can't make a point. Yeah. I don't. He's done some trustworthy things. He's earning my trust, but I can't. I don't fully trust anybody on this show. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Everyone's got their own agenda or could snap due to an emotional decision at any point.
I trust Charlie.
I don't.
No?
No.
Okay, I trust Charles.
I think that Charles is a strong team.
Okay.
They would not betray each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that Jason has too much at stake, and he's still a little wishy-washy for me. Like you said, he's earning my trust.
Yeah.
Which will make his inevitable betrayal. Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal.
Yes.
I'm glad I got to fit that in there.
Yeah.
It'll make that betrayal, when he actually does betray them, worse, because he's going to earn that trust. They're going to trust him, and I think at a point, if we don't analyze it too much, we will begin to trust him. So hopefully they'll bring that out, and we'll forget about this in 7 or 8 episodes. And
well, I think it's clear based on the conversations that he's had with his dad over the last few times. Like, he wasn't in last week's episode, I don't believe. But when he and Tom duked it out, and then based on the conversations they had in this episode, it's clear that his heart, his moral compass points or aligns itself more closely with the rebels than it does with Monroe. Mm-hmm. Not that they are morally superior. There's just as much bloodshed and stuff going on from their camp as well, I won't say just as much because they're underpowered, but Monroe's clearly crazy and on his own personal agenda, not really looking for the greater good here. So that's, I think, the big difference between the two. And I think Jason's moral compass aligns itself more closely with that. You're not going to go out there and kill women and children and innocents. You know, you're not going to kill
Right.
You're not going to kill
Non-combatants.
civilians, right?
Right.
And Tom clearly doesn't see that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why he can be trusted, is that he believes more in that fighting for that side and what that side stands for than the other side.
Right. Don't underestimate Tom's belief in power, though. I mean, we have Jason who believes in good, but Tom believes in, I mean, domination, it seems. Even though he's a little weak, I think that's kind of where he, I guess, puts his hopes and his goals.
That's his way of survival, which
Right.
I think is his ultimate goal. I mean, that's obviously a very animalistic instinct within us, so
Yeah.
that makes sense.
So I just wanted to throw that out,
Okay.
even if it's cheap.
So Tom escaped.
Okay. I have a quote for that.
Okay.
Is there anything you would like to tell me before we start? Yes, I'm going to kill you pretty soon. I see. How exactly? Well, I thought I'd break your neck, then use you as a human shield, and kill the guard with that knife there on the table, and take his gun. Anywho, that scene, just when he escaped, I'm like, True Lies! Look at that! But he wasn't doped up, and he's no Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I'm sorry I can't do a good Arnold.
That's a good quote, by the way.
Yeah, it's one of the best scenes ever.
So you thought his escape was inevitable, or after the double cross, did you think it was okay? They were going to keep him cooped up.
Tom. Okay, last week you talked about how Randall never got shot. And you know how it bothers me that Tom always made it away from the fights.
Yeah.
I knew that he was going to escape.
Both of those happened again this episode, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Tom is going to get away. He always gets away. The moment he's captured for good, he'll be dead.
Yeah. They did show the nail on the floor, so we knew it was going to happen at some point. But
right.
That was, and Derek in Minnesota, who's in the live show right now, he's making that point. And you're right, Derek. How did he get the nail? How did he get the nail? Answer me that question, please.
Well, there's a couple of hypotheses. He stood up in his chair somehow, bent over, and picked it up with his teeth, and somehow got it behind his back. More plausible is his son gave it to him.
Uh-huh.
That's the only thing I can think of. Somebody had to give it to him.
I think so. I don't see, he could have, made himself fall over in his chair. You got your hands behind your back. Maybe you can roll over and get the nail.
But then you have to stand back up.
You have to upright yourself somehow. Is that part of why you don't trust Jason? Just because you believe that Jason gave him the nail?
Well, if that's where you were taking me, no. That's not why.
Okay.
I don't trust Jason because I don't think he will give up his mother. That's the question I thought you were going on.
Well, and he's got
earlier.
a weakness, right? And the weakness is the mom.
Right.
Until she's dead.
Yeah. But
sticking by my theory, folks. Sticking by it.
I don't really think Jason gave it to him because why would he? He just talked to him about not giving it to him. He was escaped. Did they knock him down when he got out?
Knock who down?
Tom.
No.
After he first escaped, they didn't push him to the ground or anything?
No.
Okay.
Not that I don't believe so.
I'm trying to think of a point where he would have hit the floor and I must have just missed it, but I really don't think it was Jason. I mean, I don't know how else he would have gotten it, though.
Man, if it's not Jason, then there's no explanation that I can come up with.
There's a spy.
That is even somewhat remotely plausible in my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, the other ones that we mentioned, I mean, yeah, okay. Oh, well, not really. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the only thing. And look, if Jason really does care about his mom, the way he could have looked at it is said, we got what we wanted out of Tom. Everyone else is gone. Let's let him go. He can help my mom out. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I can go for that. Because as you already mentioned, Julia, excuse me, you got me doing it now. Julie is his weakness.
Right.
She should be, you know?
Mm-hmm. It's mom.
Right. So I'm going to say that
mm-hmm.
Jason did give him the key, the nail.
Did he have a guard in the room with him at all times?
I don't know.
I don't think he did. Because like when Jason goes in, Jason's the only one in
I
there.
think the guard was on the outside. And then when they came in, when Nicholas came in, he came in with the guard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think maybe he escaped before he got the nail. And he was just sitting there kind of with his hands clasped behind him with the nail.
I suppose. I mean, you could say maybe he had something in his pockets, but I don't know how he could have reached any of his pockets.
Well, I mean, he could have just pulled a Houdini and wiggled out of the ropes or whatever. So
Maybe.
it's more plausible
That
than
is
Jason
plausible.
giving it to him.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Well, it's a good thing. I know Carrie and I we went to bed last night, and that was the first thing that she asked me because we hadn't had a chance to talk about it. I watched it in here in the office, and she watched it in there, and that was the first thing she asked me was, how did Tom get out of those handcuffs? How did he get that nail?
yeah.
So it's a big question.
So maybe he's a little bit trickier than we thought he was.
Yeah. Maybe so. Okay.
Right.
So I mentioned in last week's episode that the preview showed us a map of Virginia, and they were talking about the tower, so maybe the tower is in Virginia, not as far away as we originally theorized of Chicago.
Right.
But I also said, these previews, you can't always trust what they show you, and sure enough, that was the case. What they were looking at was the location of the cement factory.
Right.
So we know where they're located. They're in Virginia. But we also got a little bit more of a clue as to the location of the tower. Where do you think it is? What do you think it is?
Well, I think it's probably under a mountain next to the Stargate. So
Is Richard Dean Anderson going to step through it?
I don't think he'd survive in this world.
That's where he got the nail. There was a Stargate in there. Richard Dean Anderson came through with the nail, gave it to Tom.
If you want to think a theory that popped into my head, somebody time traveled to give it to him.
Maybe he time traveled to himself and gave it to himself.
He could have very well done that.
Maybe a younger version of himself looped back through time.
He would have closed that loop.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kaboom. Yeah, I didn't really think that, but
okay.
So
all right.
Yeah, the tower is it's past the Plains Nation, so I'm kind of shooting for the Rockies.
Is it past the Plains Nations, or you got to go through the Plains Nations? Not that Chicago is. I mean, Chicago would be on more of the eastern side of the plains.
You're not really touching the plains.
Yeah. Unless
in Virginia. Maybe
they're going to hook up. Maybe you got to go through the plains.
Maybe it could be misleading.
It'd be like taking I-40 basically, which is going to take you through Tennessee, Arkansas.
But those aren't plains.
Huh?
Those aren't the plains.
Then you get into Oklahoma. Well, you passed Chicago by that point. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's maybe in an Air Force base in Colorado.
So Colorado Springs?
Where is the Stargate? Where was Stargate Command?
I don't know.
Man. Somebody in the chat room, did they give that to me yet? Just need to know where that is.
All right. Come on, chat room.
I know somebody knows.
Yeah, I have no idea.
It popped up like every time they'd have the tunnel entrance, it pops up in the show. It's like, oh, it's here. So
Colorado Springs is what they're saying.
Is that? All right. Maybe it is. So.
It's where the Air Force Academy is.
Yeah, but I didn't know if it was actually with the Air Force Academy. I mean, it could be.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be the Air Force base either.
Yeah, they have a really awesome looking building, so I'd build a tower next to that.
Uh-huh.
It'd be kind of imposing. Granted.
Yeah, we're getting Cayenne Mountain. Or
Cheyenne
Mountain.
Mountain. That sounds right.
Yeah. Cayenne. Was this a pepper?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pepper Mountain. That's right. Thanks, Direk. Yeah. Let's go to Pepper Mountain, Charlie.
Yeah.
Full of all kinds of hotness and sweat. Sweat Lodge. Goodness.
Charlie's not going with her.
Come on, Charlie the Unicorn.
Oh, okay. No, I don't
Candy
watch
Mountain?
Yeah, don't watch. YouTube is good for actual good product, not for Charlie the Unicorn.
Shun the non-believer. Shun. All right.
Thank you for
Some people got the joke, man. All right. I'm totally distracted now. What in the world were we talking about?
We were talking about the location of the tower.
Yeah. There's a magical Leopleurodon there. That's what I know for sure.
Okay. So.
Well, that's what'll happen. Rachel and Aaron will be on the way to the tower. They'll be lost. They'll find a magical Leopleurodon and want to know the way to the tower. And it'll go, "Rrr." It has spoken. It has showed us the way.
And that's the series finale.
Yes. Oh,
Or maybe
man.
it's an intro to Jurassic Park 4.
Hey, there you go.
So
So if you're listening to this and think that I've gone off the rails, that's probably true. But go over to YouTube and just type in
don't do it.
Charlie the Unicorn.
It's not worth your time.
All the nonsense I just sputtered will make more sense to you.
You can't
It may not make more sense, but you'll at least know the context from where I pulled it.
You don't need the context.
All right. What's next, Jeremy? Get us back on course.
All right. Well, when they get to the cement factory, a certain Jason does not know how to use his bow. So
This was, last week I griped about a lot of things that were just like,
yeah.
this was the only one from even Randall getting away, even Tom getting away. Those didn't bother me in this episode. What bothered me is the guy who is it great with the bow, with every shot after that, running, jumping, diving. He can hit whatever he wants. But the open shot where the enemy is unsuspecting it, you muff it?
Hey.
we got Stormtrooper all of a sudden.
It's worse than Stormtrooper. I mean, you have that, you're on the dot. I mean, I don't know. If anybody who plays D&D knows, you have the surprise round. I mean,
yeah.
Hit him. Roll a 20.
Yeah.
No, he rolls a 1.
He rolled a 1.
Yeah.
He really did.
Thud. Oh, well. So, but immediately after, he snap, bam, nails the guy up halfway up the cement factory.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was sad.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they should have had everybody shoot. He jumped real quick when he said, we need somebody to do this. So I got it. Ding. He misses. So that leads me to say Jason can't be trusted because maybe he's in on it.
Okay. You know what? That would
I don't know.
That would help me sleep better at night if he missed the shot on purpose.
Well, maybe he wants his dad to find Randall and take this back. I don't know.
Yeah.
So speaking of Randall and Tom, we were talking about Tom losing trust and gaining favor and everything. This is very trusting for Monroe and Randall
Absolutely
to send Tom after.
Well, okay. Sorry. Oh, you finished your point. I thought you were
after
going
a
somewhere else.
nuke.
Yeah.
I mean, it's priority number 1. Hey, let's forget the pendant. I've got a nuke.
I think Randall sent Tom on a suicide mission.
Okay.
Who knows? Maybe Randall put the bomb there.
I like.
We saw the scout team saw they were coming, and we know Nora makes explosives, but we do not know that the scout team or the rebels put the bomb there.
Yeah, I think it's safe to assume they did.
I do. I just thought of that as I'm spouting this off.
Yeah, I like the theory.
Look, Randall wants Tom's spot. He doesn't want any competition.
Yeah. So, and what you're saying here is Randall knew Tom was going to fail.
Yeah.
That's why he sent him out. And I think that's definitely a plausible explanation.
Yeah.
So, I don't know why that road led to the cement factory, though. It's kind of a convenient road to be traveling.
It happened to go by where the rebels
Right.
happened to be? No,
Yeah.
I completely agree. That's a nice little convenient plot point.
Yeah.
I also think that Randall is trying to weaken the high ranks with Monroe, because I think he's trying to kill Monroe, and he needs to weaken
I
the
can see
upper
that.
ranks so that when he takes over, there's not
Nobody else to
resistance.
stand. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no resistance.
At the same time, this is the first one that seems to be really weakening. He's not gotten rid of a whole lot of other people so far.
Well, we don't know a whole lot of other people either, because we got the Strausser. He's dead.
True.
And we have Tom. I mean, I don't know, who else do we have?
Randall.
Yeah.
Maybe we're already there.
Maybe we are.
So,
I don't know.
So what do you think about cooling enriched uranium?
Well, I wrote that in the show notes, and I'm ignorant on this. I mean, just because it was a nuclear bomb, look, once you make a nuclear bomb, you put it into some sort of missile or whatever, right? So I'm just being stupid here, folks. Don't hate me. I just don't know. I originally put in the show notes, how can they cool enriched uranium without electricity? But I don't know that that's what would have been necessary to make the nuclear weapon might have already been created, and they found it, or we're storing it in a safe place, isolated place. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's really a valid thing anymore. The more I thought about that.
Well, I'm gonna play the proverb and say, better not to speak and remove all doubt. So the whole being a fool.
So you're gonna leave me out there to be stupid by myself? That's what you're saying.
So
all right,
all of my knowledge on nukes comes from Battlestar. So. I can't tell you anything about them.
Yeah.
I know that a couple of other countries around the world are threatening to pop some off, but
they're making fun of our Oklahoma accents. Did you see that?
No, I'm out of battery.
We call it the cement factory, and they're like, "I've never heard of cement. I've heard of cement."
I guess I do have an accent.
Yeah, we pronounce it cement here.
Yeah. It's caramel, cement, and if you're in Arkansas, it's Warsh.
Yeah.
Go wash your clothes. No, so the factory I thought was kind of interesting. It's no longer the cement factory, it's the factory.
Okay.
I think that, why would they have it there? It's in the open. I mean, maybe nobody's going to look for it, but personally, I survived DC in Fallout 3, and I looked through every nook and cranny to find any form of weapon and nuke. I used bottle caps as currency.
I think the thing is too. I think there are two reasons why it would be there. Is that is that your question?
Yeah, just why would they put it somewhere that is so easily found?
Well, it might be easily found, but also it could be unstable. So it might be isolated because you're going to have to bring in materials and mix things. And yes, you do have those in urban environments, but probably not in this case. It didn't seem to be in this case. But also, I think that it's reasonable to think that there are a lot of cement bricks or formations, that could be used to help contain it should it go off.
Contain a nuke.
More than it being in a silk factory.
I don't think silk contains it any less than a concrete cinder block. I'm just saying.
Okay, I'm just throwing out it there. You asked. That's what I'm throwing out there.
I mean, maybe if it was a couple hundred feet under a couple hundred yards underground.
Now you're opening your mouth.
Yeah, I'm removing all doubt. Dang it. But yeah, I don't think cement would stop it. I'm just saying.
And I don't know.
It's a nuke. It's gonna go right.
It's as good a place as any.
So what? It might shorten the blast radius by 2 feet, maybe.
I don't know. I'm not gonna.
It's not gonna do that at all. But I'm just saying. I'd keep it in a silk factory because nobody'd think you'd store one there.
Well, maybe.
Granted, I would like bury it under a lava rock beside a tree along a fence made of brick.
What are you talking about?
Onyx rock? I'd bury it under an onyx rock. You need a redemption, man. A Shawshank Redemption.
Oh yeah. Gosh, no. I was trying to think of sci-fi movies, and nothing was coming to me.
No.
Sorry. You went Stephen King. What? Like that has anything to do with Revolution?
Yeah.
Come on, Jeremy. Okay. Then we get to so Tom's gone. The nuke is gone. The rebels go back to the base and now realize their only hope, at least in Rachel's mind, is to get to the tower so that they can control it instead of Randall, who now has a nuke. Okay. That makes sense, I guess. But she goes and she leaves Charlie behind. Why do you leave Charlie behind and go off alone to cross the Plains Nations with Aaron? She should know Aaron. She lived with him for all those years. We saw him on the way to Philadelphia. Smart guy.
Yeah.
Completely inept when it comes to anything physical related.
He can reprogram the nanites, though.
Hey, I'm not saying he doesn't have value on the trip.
Right.
But you are going to go with two people, and Aaron is one of them, and that's it? Your daughter, who is one of the most capable fighters in your group that we've seen, wants to go with you, and you reject her again and leave her behind.
Song remains the same, man.
That makes no sense to me. Yes, it keeps Miley together, or Charles, however we're going to go with it. But that was not a reasonable explanation for me, other than, like you said, yes, it is Rachel's nature to do that. But she had just expressed earlier in the episode that she would never do that again. So now you have to leave. Okay, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
You
But
have
take
the
her with you.
opportunity to take her with you.
Yeah. You don't have to leave her. I
No.
can't think of a good reason to separate those two, except for to build the relationship with Charlie and Miles,
Right.
and to get Miles away from Rachel. Because we don't really want to see that love thing go too far right now.
Right.
Perhaps. So as writing, I mean, you'll probably see that developed if there is another season or two.
Yeah.
But I don't think that we want to develop that too quickly.
No,
So-
I agree with that. So she says she's never going to see Charlie again.
Yeah.
Of course she will.
I'm going on a suicide mission. Yeah.
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 We'll see each other again.
Yeah.
It may not be till next season or something, but
Even if it's in Charlie's dream after she gets nicked by a bullet. Nicked.
that's right. So she saw her dad, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but there was also an interesting conversation there between after they got through making out,
Yeah.
Miles and Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
And what she said in there, man, as much as I hate to say it, and as much as I was opposed to it last week, I gotta say I'm now like got 1 foot on the Miles is Charlie's dad train.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I think I'm kind of hanging off the caboose, kind of
Yeah.
like 1 foot on the ladder and
That's kind of the way I am.
speeding down the tracks.
I'm like handing them my ticket to punch my ticket. I got 1 foot on the train, and
Yeah.
I just need to. I'm not 100% committed. Like I could still step off, but my momentum's going towards
Yeah.
the train.
If I step off, I'm going to break a couple legs.
Yeah, you're not gonna
It's
roll
already-
gracefully.
It's already moving 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt. So,
Tangier says no, it's not. Let's take a quick poll here in the chat room. Those are joining us for the live show. Do you think that Miles is Charlie's dad?
dun dun dun.
Find out what the answers are here. I see some people are typing. We have a no, and we have a yes. We have a no.
Yes, no, maybe.
We have a yes.
I don't know.
We have a no. We have a yes. Wow, it's literally every other. We have 2 yeses there. Another yes. So the yeses are winning, but barely. It's like 60-40.
Yeah, we have a where did this theory come from question too.
Well, 2 of our callers in last week's feedback episode threw out this theory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Red herring is what we're throwing out there. Yeah. So I'm still gonna go. It's about 60-40. Does that seem about right? 60% say yes, and 40% are saying no.
It may be closer to 70, but 60-40 sounds fair.
Yeah. 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 Is Miles Charlie's dad? That's the question. Okay. Well, we'll see. I'm not on board yet, but man, some of the comments that Rachel made could certainly be interpreted towards that.
When she was talking, I fully expected she's your daughter.
Right.
So
It just seemed like it should be the next words, right?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking
Mhm.
too. I'm like, man, they're like leading us to that
Mhm.
and kind of wanting us to fill in the rest on our own, not ready
Right.
to reveal it officially yet. That's kind of the
Yeah.
feeling I had about that scene.
Which gives me hope that it could be that red herring. But
right. Exactly.
At the same time, it kind of gives me that dread that it's not. But see,
Yeah.
I like Childs.
Yeah.
I'm not going to settle on a name.
That's the 3rd iteration we've had of it.
Well,
now.
you know what? I'm going to have to come up with several more.
Uh-huh.
I'm just going to play the Walter card here.
Okay.
I'll just never get it.
Never get
anymore.
it right?
Yeah.
Did you just throw out a Fringe reference?
I did. Yay me.
Gold star for you, Jeremy.
I've got 2 gold stars today.
Next thing you know, I'll be throwing out a battle star. That'll be fracking awesome.
Sometimes you got to roll a hard 6, man.
Sorry, I'm not with you there. All right. Anything
watch
else you want to say about the episode?
It was a good episode. Actually, it was really good. I enjoyed it.
I loved it. It had action. It drove the plot forward. It had humor. It had good character development. It just had everything that I look for in an episode. I thought this was
Yeah.
the best episode of the entire series so far.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
liked
agree.
it that much. All right, let's do quote of the week. All right, so we have 4 new quotes this week. Of course, as always, occasionally we'll do 5 quotes, but most of the time just 4. But before we do those, we'll do the winner from last week, which was "God Bless America."
Business as usual. For you, that's Losing. I mean, a few random bombings here and there. You think that's gonna do anything? You are a fly. Buzzing around Monroe's head, and that's all.
Miles.
You want to take down Monroe, you gotta hit hard. Make sure he doesn't get back up again. You gotta decimate his men. Burn Philly to the ground. And how are we gonna do all that? Well, for one thing, I'm gonna help you.
You are gonna help us.
Look at me. I'm with the rebels now. God bless America.
All right, so that was the
Good
winner from
quote.
last week.
That does remind me. It's interesting. Even after Miles has trained them, they use a bomb to be flies around Randall because they didn't stop Randall, and I guess they hit Tom. So maybe you can just edit that out. But
I'm not sure what you were trying to say.
well, like he talks about how your tactics are just cheap little bombs and everything, and the first thing they do with Miles as their leader is blow up a car with Tom in it. So
It worked out pretty well for him, though.
yeah, but Tom killed 2 people and
Yeah.
took the bomb.
Yes, he did.
I say Tom took the bomb.
Randall
Randall took the bomb.
Yeah.
So.
All right, well, we have 4 quotes, as I said, for this week. The first one is, hey, you breaking the chair over there?
Yep.
The first one is staggering level of incompetence.
I'm sending you on a little trip, Tom. Pick something up. It's high priority, top secret.
Look, Tom, if it's too much to handle, just tell us.
Mr. Flynn, all due respect. The hell is that supposed to mean?
See, Tom, what I am most of all is a manager. I assess employees' strengths and weaknesses, analyze their records, and your record demonstrates a staggering level of incompetence.
All right. I could have included more, but it would have gotten too long, so I
Yeah.
felt like that encapsulated the best part of that scene.
Yeah. It goes hand in hand with the last quote of this week too.
The last quote.
Yeah. Incompetence in Texas.
Don't get ahead of yourself. The next quote is weak like me, which isn't a direct quote, but it's the gist of the
and
scene.
it goes well with Texas too.
What more did you want from me?
You want to know the truth? It's a hard world. If you're weak, you're dead. I didn't want you to be like that. I didn't want you to be like me.
All right. Loved that scene. We had some conversation earlier today was he being legit? Did he really say that he was weak, or was he really just playing into what Jason wanted to hear so he could get loose? What do you think?
Totally playing Jason.
I say being truthful, knowing that Jason would see through it, but motivated not by being honest with Jason, but by saving his own neck. But it was the truth, and he knows it.
Yeah. I'll have to disagree with that.
Okay. You have that right. Quote number 3, boy band face.
Oh, I'm supposed to trust you now? After all the times you've screwed us over. Turn your ass around. Walk out of this camp right now.
Not until I see him.
If you go anywhere near him, I will bash your little boy band face in.
It's a boy band.
It was funny when Miles said what he did, but for Jason to respond that way.
I didn't even
Perfect.
catch the reference last night because I was laughing so hard and kind of fist pumping Miles. So that's good. I like Jason's response.
Yeah. It makes
So,
sense, right?
yeah.
He and Charlie have no idea what a boy band is.
So, heck, they don't even know
Doesn't
what
that
music
make you,
is. So.
Doesn't that make you long for a post-apocalyptic world where people don't know what a boy band is?
That's a good point. All they know is zombies.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, that's true. Or power outages.
Yeah.
And the final one is Texas.
Forget it. You're not going.
It's not up to you.
Say you make it across the Plains Nation to this tower, and you flip the lights back on. All big ifs. Why the hell would you want to?
Miles.
Give power to everyone? To Georgia? To California? Texas? Oh, God, Texas?
We feel the same way, Miles. We
Yeah.
live in Oklahoma, and well, my wife is from Texas. I can't say anything too bad.
Yeah,
There are some good things. That
only
come
good
out
thing
of there.
that comes out of Texas is I-35 North.
That's right. Anyway, good quotes this week. Go get your vote on starting Wednesday over at goldenspiralmedia.com/revolution. Look for the polls tab right there in the middle of the page. You'll find it, and those quotes will be up so you can get your vote on and vote for the quote of the week, which we will, of course, announce in next week's podcast, which will be episode 25. All right, speaking of announcements, now's the time. The big announcement.
Right. And I'm just going to go get a cup of coffee because...
Yeah, you can. You already know all of this. I mentioned last week that we would have a big announcement this week, and a lot of you already know this. If you're followers of us on social media, then this is not a surprise, but not everyone does. But anyway, I want to announce that starting in May, I will be dedicating full time to new media. Golden Spiral Media is part of what I do. And I also have a website company called Dramatic Traffic, and I will be doing full-time, working for myself, doing web design, podcast production, and podcast consulting. So if you've thought about getting into podcasting or want to get into podcasting, there are some great resources out there for you. Now I'm one of those. I'm not, that kind of sound egotistical. I didn't mean to sound that way. I just mean that now I'm a resource that's more available. And I could not be more excited about it. And I've worked really hard for this for the last several years to get to this point, poured myself into Golden Spiral Media, and I'm now at a point where I can leave my day job, which I've been at for almost 19 years, Jeremy, over 18 and a half years.
It's a long time.
I've been there for a long time, have a lot of great memories there, met a lot of great people there, and I'm grateful for that experience, but now be able to move into this arena doing podcasting and website development full time, and I couldn't be more excited. So anyway, thank you to everyone who has, sent over encouraging emails or posted things on social media as encouragement. It means a lot, and you guys have all helped make this possible. And so what that means for Golden Spiral Media right now, the only podcast that is currently being produced is this one, the Revolution podcast. But it means that we're going to be bringing back some of the other podcasts. The first one that we'll bring back will be Triplecast. The others will all be reworked or resurrected. In other words, I don't know that we need Cutting the Cable and Portable Orchard. We might still have a place for both of those, but that's just an example of how we're going to reevaluate everything and then move forward with what we determine is best. And Clint will still be a part of Golden Spiral Media. Jeremy will still be a part of Golden Spiral Media, and there'll be other people that will come and be a part of the, sitting in the hosting chair and being a part of Golden Spiral Media as well. But you can expect more podcast productions from us at Golden Spiral Media. You heard me talk about TV Talk. That is a company that I am affiliated with. I've been doing a lot of work for them, and doing a lot of production work for them. I'll continue to do that. I'll continue to participate in hosting some of their shows, but it's all around new media is what I'll be dedicating my time to. And just really grateful to all the support we've gotten over the last few years. So look for more of us. I'm still at my current day job until the first week of May. And so that's when, after the first week of May, is when I'll start pouring myself 100% into this.
Just like 100% cup of coffee.
Yay.
Yay.
So any more TV shows? Yeah, probably so. Probably so. I couldn't say exactly what new shows we might bring into the fold, but there's no reason why we won't do other entertainment-based shows. A lot of what we do entertainment, and we do technology. That's primarily what we do here. Dad Hacker is kind of a blending of family and technology and fun stuff. And Dad Hacker will continue to be around as well. That'll be one that hopefully you'll see more out of. Mark from Canada says he liked the Addie and Daddy podcast. That was one we just threw out as a one-off just because my daughter had been bugging me for so long to do a podcast. We got such a great response out of that. We're now considering doing that as a regular show, maybe once a month or something like that. So these are all things that are going to be coming down the road. I can't, as we define and identify specifically which shows we'll do, then I'll announce those. But just know that there will be more stuff heading your way. I'm also getting some comments here in the chat room about Defiance, Falling Skies, Continuum. Those are all great shows. I can tell you that Defiance is a show that TV Talk is doing. I'll be producing that. I won't be hosting that. That starts a week this coming Monday, April 15th. Falling Skies is a show that TV Talk will be producing, and I will be hosting that one, but that'll be under the TV Talk umbrella. Continuum, I can't say anything on specifically. That one is still up for debate, but there's some really cool stuff happening that I'm involved with, and really excited, as I've said probably 15 times now in this little spiel. But anyway, again, thank you for all the support, and just stay tuned. Follow us on Facebook over at facebook.com/Golden Spiral Media. Follow us on Twitter at GSM Podcasts. All the stuff will be updated over there. As I mentioned, my website business is Dramatic Traffic. If you're looking for an awesome website, looking to get rid of an ugly, embarrassing socks with sandals type of website, come check it out. And be glad to help you out with that as well. So anyway, I gave the contact information. If you want to send us in feedback, you can call us on the Golden Spiral Media voice feedback line, which is 304-837-2278. You can send in emails or typey out an email and send that over to feedback@goldenspiralmedia.com. Am I missing anything else, Jeremy?
Who won our bracket?
Oh, the Geek Madness bracket. Yeah, I meant to mention that. I forgot to put that earlier in the show notes. Yeah, Geek Madness ended last night, just like the actual NCAA tournament did. It was not won by Louisville. It was won by Malcolm Reynolds.
Hoorah.
I was shocked at this outcome.
Actually, I'm sorry, Shiny.
Yeah, Shiny is the right response to that. I had Batman going all the way. Mal upset Batman in the Final Four and then went on to win the entire thing.
Good for Mal.
Now, should I reveal my secret here?
That you lost and I won? Oh yeah.
I guess. Yeah, we had an internal
bracket.
Yeah. And I was hoping you wouldn't mention that.
Yeah. I'm more geeky than you. Who knew?
No, the secret is in it was either the Elite 8 round or the Sweet 16 round. It was 10 to midnight. The poll closed at midnight, and Mal and Han Solo were tied. I cast the deciding vote, and I voted for Mal.
Yeah.
Mal won that round because of my deciding vote.
Because of you. Yeah.
And,
all of the other voters didn't count, right?
Well, let's talk this through, Jeremy. The next round, Mal took on Yoda.
Yeah,
Had that been Han versus Yoda, Han would not have beaten Yoda. No way.
No.
So then you would have had Yoda versus Optimus Prime.
Yeah, Yoda would have won in the championship, just like I had predicted.
Yeah, although I predicted Batman too, so you don't know these things. But man, when I cast that deciding vote, then I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. But it turned out to be That's why every vote counts, folks. If you were meaning to come over to the site and vote for Han and you didn't, blame yourself. You have no one to blame but you.
Public service message.
Get out and vote. Anyway, it was fun. Thanks to everybody who participated in the Geek Madness tournament. We'll probably do it again next year. It was a ton of fun.
All
right.
I enjoyed it.
Is that it, man?
Yeah, that's it.
I think that's it, guys. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Revolution Podcast. And until next time, we are the world without power.
Boomer Sooner. Oh,
that's the wrong button. Let's try this one. The Revolution Podcast and Golden Spiral Media are not associated with Bad Robot Productions, Kripke Enterprises, Warner Brothers, or NBC. Golden Spiral Media's use of any and all copyrighted material is only for parody, news analysis, critique, or educational purposes as provided within United States Code Title 17, aka Fair Use. For advertising opportunities, live show, and other Golden Spiral Media podcast productions, visit goldenspiralmedia.com. Copyright 2012, Golden Spiral Media.